In task 7, we are going to play around with cues. So sometimes it's necessary to create the cue or a loop, or to create the pause cue on your timeline to pause the timeline at a certain position, or to jump back at the end of a video to the start or something like this. So now we are adding video 1 to 4 on the layer background 1. So just grab them, layer 1 to 4, and we add them to background 1. As always, I read the task till the end at first, because then I already know that I need a change in the duration, and I also need a fade out and fade in on each video. So which means I just add the first one, change the duration to 10 seconds. 10 seconds, it's always the same. And then I create the fade in and fade out of 1 second. 1 second. It's amazing that I always make it wrong. This should be at 9 seconds and opacity of 1 and the keyframe at the end. Then I just copy paste it. I use the shortcuts on the keyboard, which is Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V for copy paste, and Shift and arrow keys left, right to jump to the beginning and to the end of the clip of the video. Well, then I just change the content of the clips, and here we go. So that's actually what I'd like to have. And they should start at 5 seconds, which is already correct. Okay, so then we have to create a pause cue right before the fade out of each video, which means I double click up here. So the line up here is my cue line. The cue snaps to the different positions on the timeline. If I now select the cue here, I can change the operation in the inspector. So here I want to change it to pause. And so I have a pause cue right before the fade out of the video. Then I can make life a little bit easier. I can use Alt and arrow keys left, right to jump to the next keyframe. And then we have the possibility either to create a new pause with the button up here, or we also can use N for new as shortcut on the keyboard. N is a very general shortcut because it just creates a new object and it references to the selected object, which means if I select a cue and I press N, a new pause cue will be created. For example, if I already have a play cue up here and I press N, a new play cue will be created. And it works as well for clips. So for example, if I select a clip, a new placeholder clip will be created. Or if I select a keyframe and I press N, a new keyframe will be created as well. Okay, so we have different possibilities to create new objects. And at the end, I don't want to have a pause. Or yeah, let's make a pause as well. At this position. And well. Okay, so and at the end of the last video, there should be a jump cue to jump back to the very beginning. So for a jump, we need basically at first the jump cue, of course. So I create a new cue and the operation should be jump. In the next step, I have to decide where should this jump cue jump to. Either I can use a time, for example, mode should be to time, or I also can choose a label. So for example, in especially that case, if I want to jump back to the beginning of the first clip, I can jump to second 5. That's the first option. Or I jump to a label. But then I need a label at the beginning. So I just double click there and create a play queue at the very beginning, or at the beginning of video 1. And I also have to name this label so that I can select in the jump queue settings where this jump queue should jump to. So I select my label play and type in, for example, position 1. And if I now go back to my jump queue, I also can change the mode from to time to label, and now I have the possibility to select different queues. So if I have more than one queue, more than one labeled queues, then I will find them in here, and I'd like to jump to position 1. Of course, a little bit of documentation in the timeline always makes sense, especially if, for example, your colleague is working on a timeline as well. So in that case, I just name my jump queue to position 1. So I always know, okay, this jump queue is to jump back to position 1, and I don't have to select it, check the settings where the goal of the jump queue is, and so it's easier to find the way or to find out to find out how the timeline is programmed. And actually, so let's delete this one for a second just to show you how it works. So if I now reach this jump queue with my now pointer, it automatically jumps to position 1. And if the timeline reaches the pause queue, then of course it pauses, and with the spacebar it starts again and runs till the next pause queue. Another nice thing on queues is that we also have 2 timeline times, which means one time is the current time and the second time is the countdown till the next queue. So for example, now we see 26.7 seconds of the timeline, and we see the time counting down till the next queue. You also see it up here in the timeline. So for example, if you have more than one timeline, we will see it in a later task. You also see the time time counting down till the next queue here as well. And so for example, for live events, you also count in different queues. And if you need a special position on a timeline without any action, you just create, for example, a play queue and name it scene 1, for example. And you see the countdown here as well. But a play queue in that case has no action because the timeline is already in play and you have a nice overview of your timeline. Once again, don't forget to save your project, and that's it.